The Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. You ever play a game that just feels like a warm hug for your eyeballs? That's Kena, Bridge of Spirits. It's stunning, emotional, and way better than it has any right to be considering it's Ember Labs' first game. But don't be fooled by the cute Pixar-style visuals. This one packs a serious punch, both emotionally and gameplay-wise. You play as Kenna, a young spirit guide with a magic staff and the ability to help restless souls move on. The catch? Some spirits don't want to go quietly and they turn into vengeful, corrupted monsters. Your job is to kick their spectral asses while helping them find peace. It's basically a mix of combat, exploration, and emotional gut punches. The combat is pretty deep. At first you're just whacking enemies with your staff, but soon you'll unlock a bow, which feels super satisfying to use. You'll be firing off spirit arrows, parrying attacks, and using your adorable rot companions, basically tiny black fluff balls with big eyes, to distract and weaken enemies. And man, these little guys aren't just cute, they're crucial for solving puzzles and wrecking bosses. And the bosses? No joke, for such a bright, colorful game, Kenna surprisingly throws some tough fights at you. You'll need to time your dodges, land precise parries, and strategically use your rot abilities. Some of the late game bosses will smack you around if you're not paying attention. It's challenging but fair, which makes every victory feel super satisfying. But where Kena really shines is its world and atmosphere. The forest environments are absolutely gorgeous, like Studio Ghibli level breathtaking. You'll be wandering through mystical woods, climbing ancient ruins, and exploring colorful villages. The lighting, particle effects, and fluid animations make the whole thing feel alive, like you're playing through an interactive animated movie. And then you've got the story, which is surprisingly emotional. You're helping spirits find peace, but their backstories hit hard. Some of them are tragic, bittersweet, and beautifully told through flashbacks and environmental details. You'll get attached to the characters, even the ones who only show up for a short time. It's the kind of game that sneaks up on you with its emotional moment. The Rock Companions deserve a whole section of their own. These adorable little creatures follow you around and they're constantly doing cute stuff, sitting on Kenna's head, playing with flowers, or hopping into tiny hats you can find. And yes, you can customize their look with hats, because why not? They're both adorable and useful, helping you move objects, solve puzzles, and enhance your combat abilities.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And
The Forgotten City. The Forgotten City is one of those rare games that sneaks up on you. It starts off feeling like a simple mystery. You wake up in an ancient Roman city cursed by the gods. The twist? If even one person sins, everyone in the city is turned into gold. Your job is to figure out who's going to break the golden rule and stop them. The catch? You're stuck in a time loop, meaning every time the city falls, you restart the day with all your knowledge intact. At first it feels like a detective story, but the deeper you go, the more complex and morally twisted it becomes. You'll uncover dark secrets, philosophical debates, and staggering revelations that'll mess with your head. The writing is phenomenal. Every character feels flawed and believable with their own motives and struggles. Some are desperate, some are greedy, and some are just plain shady, making every interaction feel unpredictable. What makes the game so clever is how it rewards creativity. You can solve problems in multiple ways through persuasion, deception, or manipulation. And because of the time loop, you can get away with things you normally couldn't. Steal money? No problem, just reset the day and keep the cash. It makes you feel smart without ever feeling cheap. The city itself is hauntingly gorgeous. The golden statues, frozen and terrified poses, tell silent stories of suffering. The crumbling Roman architecture, paired with faint whispers of lost souls, creates an eerie, dreamlike atmosphere. It feels ancient, tragic, and surreal all at once. But the real brilliance of The Forgotten City is its philosophical depth. The game constantly challenges your morality, asking questions like, what is a sin? Or, do the ends justify the means? It doesn't spoon-feed you answers. Instead, it forces you to think for yourself, making every choice feel meaningful. And just when you think you have it all figured out, the game hits you with some wild twists that'll blow your mind. The final revelations are so shocking that you'll want to replay it just to catch all the clues you missed.
Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist.
Alan Wake? Alan Wake is the perfect game for anyone who loves a good psychological thriller with a dash of supernatural horror. It's mysterious, intense, and dripping with atmosphere, making you feel like you're trapped in a Stephen King novel, except you're the main character and everything is out to get you. You play as Alan Wake, a best-selling author who takes a trip to the small town of Bright Falls with his wife, hoping to cure his writer's block, but things go sideways fast. Alan's wife mysteriously disappears, and suddenly he's being hunted by shadowy figures called the Taken, people who've been consumed by darkness.
You missed your deadline!
To make things even weirder, Alan discovers that he's somehow written a horror story that's coming to life, but he has no memory of writing it. The story is brilliantly told, constantly blurring the line between reality and fiction. You'll find pages of Alan's manuscripts scattered around, describing events before they happen, creating this eerie sense of dread, and just when you think you understand what's going on, the game throws in another twist that'll mess with your head. But it's not just the story that makes the game so gripping, it's the atmosphere. Bright Falls looks like your typical quiet town, but it feels off in the creepiest way possible. The forests are thick with fog, the moonlight barely cuts through the shadows, and the stillness is constantly broken by unsettling sounds. A branch snapping, a distant whisper, or something stalking you just out of sight. It's oppressively atmospheric in the best way. The combat is simple but intense. The Taken are vulnerable to light, so you use your flashlight to burn away their darkness before you can finish them off with a gun. It sounds straightforward, but when a swarm of shadowy figures ambushes you in the pitch black woods, and your flashlight battery is running low, it gets incredibly tense. And since light is your only real defense, finding safe havens with street lamps feels weirdly comforting, even though you know it's only temporary. The game also nails its pacing. It's structured like a TV show with episodes that end on cliffhangers, complete with previously on Alan Wake recaps. It makes you feel like you're binge watching a supernatural thriller, and it's addictive as hell. But what really makes Alan Wake stand out is how clever and self-aware it is. The game constantly references horror tropes in literature with nods to Stephen King, Twin Peaks, and classic psychological thrillers. Alan himself is flawed and relatable, and you'll genuinely feel his desperation as he struggles to understand what's real and what's part of his own twisted imagination.
Nut house.
Life is Strange 2. You play as Sean Diaz, a regular 16-year-old kid whose life gets flipped upside down in the worst way possible. One moment he's hanging out with his little brother Daniel, and the next their dad is shot by a cop. It's brutal, sudden, and it forces Sean and Daniel to run away. But here's the twist. Daniel has telekinesis. Yep, the kid can move objects with his mind, which is super cool, except when he accidentally causes chaos. The game isn't about superhero powers though, it's about the bond between the brothers. You spend the whole game traveling from town to town, trying to stay hidden while finding your way to Mexico, where you hope to start a new life. And because Daniel is still a kid, he learns from everything you do. If you steal food, he'll think it's okay to take what he wants, but if you choose kindness, he'll grow up believing in compassion. Your choices don't just affect you, they shape Daniel into the person he becomes. And man, it gets heavy. You'll meet strangers who offer kindness and others who treat you like dirt just because of who you are. The game isn't afraid to get real. It tackles racism, immigration, and police brutality. You'll feel how unfair the world can be, especially for two kids just trying to survive. But it's not all depressing. There are some beautiful moments too, like when the brothers camp out under the stars, roasting marshmallows and sharing goofy stories, or when Daniel goes full kid mode, getting excited over dogs, snow, and silly pranks. It's these small, warm moments that make the painful ones hit even harder. The choices you make feel real, and they're never easy. Do you teach Daniel to fight back against cruelty, or teach him to walk away? Do you put yourself at risk to help strangers, or keep Daniel safe no matter what? The game never judges you, but you'll feel the weight of your decisions. Visually, the game is gorgeous. The open roads, pine forests, and dusty deserts make the road trip feel authentic. You'll travel through sleepy towns, dusty motels, and camps full of wanderers, and each place has its own vibe. The art style is simple but emotional, making every sunset and rainy road feel poetic and bittersweet.
Nobody comes out here to picnic anymore. Well, that's good for us.
Observer System Redux. Observer. System Redux is one of those games that just gets under your skin and stays there. It's creepy, weird, and unsettling, but in a way that makes you want to keep going, even when you're low-key freaked out. You play as Daniel Lazarski, a detective in a dystopian future where people can plug their minds into computers. But Daniel's not your average cop, he's an observer, meaning he can hack into people's memories and experience their thoughts and fears firsthand. Which sounds cool, right? Yeah, until you start seeing their nightmares. The story kicks off with Daniel getting a call from his estranged son, who seems to be in trouble. When Daniel tracks him down, he finds a dead body in a shady apartment building, and from there, everything goes straight to hell. The game isn't about solving a simple crime, it's about digging through broken minds and witnessing some seriously disturbing stuff. The mind-hacking sequences are where the game really shines and where it gets straight up messed up. You'll see people's darkest memories, but nothing makes sense. One moment you're walking through a glitchy hallway, and the next you're in a twisted, pixelated nightmare where the walls breathe and the furniture moves moves on its own. It's trippy as hell, and you'll constantly feel on edge, not knowing what's real or fake. The setting is straight up depressing, in a good way. The whole game takes place in a run-down apartment complex where everyone is either dead, missing, or paranoid. The hallways are dim and filthy, flickering lights barely work, and you'll constantly hear disturbing whispers and weird mechanical noises. It's claustrophobic as hell, making you feel stuck in this decaying cyberpunk hellhole. What's cool about Observer is how it balances detective work with horror. You'll investigate crime scenes, scan for blood, clues, and DNA, but then you'll jack into someone's mind and everything goes full-on psychological horror. And it's not just cheap jump scares, it's the slow, disturbing kind that messes with your head. Oh, and Rutger Hauer, the guy from Blade Runner, voices Daniel, which makes the whole experience even better. His gruff, tired voice makes Daniel feel like a man who's seen some real messed up stuff and just wants to get through one more case. The Redux version adds better visuals and extra content, making the already eerie atmosphere even more haunting. The lighting is darker, the environments look grimier, and the new side missions add more backstory and twisted lore. Overall, Observer system, Redux is like diving headfirst into a glitchy, fever dream version of Blade Runner. It's weird, unsettling, and genuinely disturbing, but it keeps you hooked. If you love creepy, mind-bending sci-fi with a dark detective vibe, this one's 100% worth your time.
Was removed post-mortem. It's possible the killer took it.
Evil West. Evil West is just pure dumb fun. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's the kind of game where you're punching vampires so hard they explode, and honestly, that's all it needs to be. You play as Jesse Rentier, a cowboy vampire hunter with a massive electric gauntlet and a whole bunch of guns, going around wrecking anything with fangs. The story? Who cares? It's just an excuse to kill monsters in the Wild West, and that's good enough for me. Now, the combat, straight up awesome. You got pistols, shotguns, rifles, and even a flamethrower, but the real MVP is your gauntlet. You can electrocute enemies, juggle them in the air, and smash them into the ground like you're playing Devil May Cry. It's fast, brutal, and stupidly satisfying. Like, you can punch a vampire so hard, it flies into a spike trap, and trust me, that never gets old. The enemies are pretty cool too. You'll fight hordes of minions, huge brutes, and some wild-ass boss monsters. And they're not just brainless bullet sponges, they'll rush you, teleport, and spam area attacks, so you can't just button mash. You'll need to mix up your gunplay and melee to stay alive. The locations are sick. You'll be storming through grimy swamps, abandoned mines, and creepy vampire nests. The whole game looks like some dark, twisted Western movie, and it totally nails the vibe. The lighting and atmosphere make it feel gritty as hell, especially when you're fighting under blood-red skies. And yeah, the upgrade system is simple but fun. You unlock new skills and perks, making your combos even crazier. By the end, you'll be wrecking entire groups of enemies without breaking a sweat. Honestly, Evil West is just a good time, no fluff. It's the kind of game you boot up when you want to turn your brain off and wreck some monsters. If you're in the mood for big guns, bigger punches, and non-stop carnage, you'll have a blast with this one.
A basic universal concept.
The Surge 2. The Surge 2 is one of those games that doesn't give a damn about holding your hand. It just throws you into its brutal, futuristic world and basically says, good luck, sucker, and honestly, that's why it's so fun. You play as some random dude, or lady, who wakes up after a plane crash in Jericho City, which is now a complete war zone, overrun with killer robots, insane mercenaries, and people who've gone nuts thanks to a technovirus. The plot is fine, but let's be real, you're here for the combat, and man, the combat hits hard. It's Souls-like, so you'll dodge, parry, and die a lot, but the limb tagging system makes it way more strategic. You can lock onto specific body parts, like arms, legs, or even heads, and slice them clean off. Why? Because ripping off enemy limbs gives you new gear. You want that sick armored leg piece? Chop off their leg. Need a better weapon? Off with their arm. It's gruesome, creative, and stupidly fun. And the gear system is awesome. You'll collect tech scrap from enemies and use it to upgrade your armor, weapons, and implants. Implants act like mods, giving you stuff like health boosts, damage buffs, or even weird energy-based abilities. You can mix and match builds, making your character feel totally unique. The world design is top tier. Jericho City is gritty, broken, and chaotic with dense slums, dark alleyways, and creepy industrial zones. It's all interconnected with tons of shortcuts and hidden paths, making exploration super rewarding. And since the world changes as you progress, you'll keep finding new stuff, even in areas you've already cleared. The enemies are relentless. You'll fight killer robots, cyborgs, and mutated freaks that'll wreck you in seconds if you're not careful. But the boss fights? That's where it really shines. These guys are huge, fast, and deadly with wild attack patterns that'll keep you on edge. And beating them feels damn satisfying. Oh, and the combat customization is wild. You can mod your gear with elemental effects like electrifying your blades or making your punches burn with fire. So you're not just slicing through enemies, you're shocking, burning, and dismembering them in the most savage ways possible. Graphically, The Surge 2 looks great with detailed environments, slick animations, and some brutal finishing moves that never get old. And the sound design is on point. The crunch of metal limbs and the satisfying clunk of your exosuit punches make every fight feel gritty and brutal. Overall, The Surge 2 is a criminally underrated gem. It's got tough, rewarding combat, deep customization, and limb-chopping action that makes every fight feel intense. If you're into Souls-like games but want something with a sci-fi twist, this one will absolutely hook you. Shadow Warrior 2. Shadow Warrior 2 is just, again, pure fun. It's the kind of game where you're dual-wielding shotguns, slicing up demons with a freaking katana, and cracking dumb jokes the whole time. It's fast, messy, and glorious chaos. You play as Lo Wang, yeah, that's his actual name, a cocky, loud-mouthed mercenary who fights demons for a living. The story? Whatever, bro. Something about corporations, magic, and saving the world, but let's be real, you'll skip through half of it. You're here to wreck monsters and make a mess, not follow some deep plot. Now the combat, absolutely insane. You've got guns, swords, chainsaws, and even a flamethrower, and you can dual wield almost anything. That means pistol in one hand, grenade launcher in the other, because why not? The gunplay is super snappy and the melee combat brutal. You'll be dashing through groups of demons, slicing off limbs, and watching the blood spray everywhere. It's gory, over the top, and stupidly fun. The enemies are wild. You'll be fighting everything from demon ninjas to giant mutant freaks, and they come at you fast. You'll be bouncing around the map, slashing, shooting, and pulling off ridiculous combos, and somehow, it never gets old. The loot system makes it even better. It's basically Borderlands style with tons of random weapons and modifiers. You'll find guns with fire, electric, or ice damage, and you can upgrade them with perks like lifesteal or extra crit damage. It makes every weapon feel different, and you'll be constantly swapping loadouts just to see how ridiculous you can get. The world design is actually pretty cool. You'll be running through neon-lit cities, misty forests, and creepy demon temples. It's all colorful, stylish, and weirdly beautiful despite the blood and guts flying everywhere. At the end of the day, Shadow Warrior 2 is just pure video game fun. No filler, no fluff, just guns, swords, and non-stop demon-slaying action. If you want a game that lets you turn your brain off, dual-wield shotguns, and chop monsters in half for hours, this one's an easy way. The Ghostrunner. Ghostrunner is one of those games that kicks your ass right out of the gate, but in a good way. It's basically cyberpunk parkour with a katana, and it doesn't hold back. You'll be wall running, dashing, slicing dudes in half, and dying a lot, but somehow you'll love every second of it. You play as a cybernetic ninja called the Ghostrunner, creative I know, and your job is to scale this massive tower run by a tyrannical AI overlord named Mara. The world, dystopian as hell. Think Blade Runner meets Mirror's Edge, but with way more neon and blood. The gameplay is where it shines. It's fast, fluid, and brutally unforgiving. You've got one-hit kills, which sounds fun until you realize it applies to you too. One mistake, dead. But the checkpoints are instant, so you'll be back in the action within seconds, making it super addictive. And the movement is slick. You'll be wall running like a parkour pro, sliding under laser beams and dashing through the air to dodge bullets. The whole thing feels buttery smooth, and once you get in the zone, you'll be pulling off insane stunts without even thinking. The combat is all about precision. You've got a katana, and, well, that's pretty much it. But who needs more when you can slice through enemies in a single hit? You'll be zipping across rooms, cutting down cyborgs, and deflecting bullets mid-air. It's fast, flashy, and makes you feel like a total badass. And the abilities? Oh man, you can slow down time, mid-dash, throw shurikens, and even teleport through enemies, turning them into cyber slush. The game keeps adding new skills, making you faster, deadlier, and more ridiculous as you go. The level design is top tier too. You'll be scaling skyscrapers, running through neon-lit slums, and dodging lasers in high-tech labs. The cyberpunk aesthetic is gorgeous, with bright neon colors, reflections everywhere, and a killer synthwave soundtrack that makes every fight feel like a music video. And yeah, it's tough as nails. You'll die constantly, but the game never feels unfair. Every death is just you getting better, learning the rhythm, and becoming an unstoppable machine. It's the kind of game where you'll restart a section 20 times, but when you finally nail it in one flawless run, you'll feel like Neo in The Matrix. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of the most realistic RPGs ever made, but don't expect dragons or magic here. Instead, you're thrown into 1403 Bohemia, where you'll be fighting, drinking, and probably getting your ass kicked by some random peasant because you forgot to sharpen your sword. It's brutal, slow, and weirdly addictive. You play as Henry, a blacksmith's son, whose life goes to hell when his village is raided and burned down by a bunch of Hungarian invaders. You somehow survive, but your family gets slaughtered, so what do? Swear revenge? Nope. You wake up half-naked in a monastery, broke and completely useless in a fight, and that's exactly what makes it brilliant. The game doesn't hold your hand. You're weak, clumsy, and can barely swing a sword at first. You'll miss half your hits, get tired after 2 swings, and probably get wrecked by some drunk dude with a stick. But that's the beauty of it. You actually have to learn everything, from combat techniques to reading and even alchemy. It's slow, but rewarding as hell. And the combat system? Oh boy. It's not your typical hack and slash. It's weighty, technical, and honestly, kinda clunky at first. You'll be blocking, feinting, and trying not to stab yourself, and once you get good at it, fights feel intense and authentic.
Jesus Christ!
You'll be swinging at just the right angle, blocking perfectly, and absolutely wrecking some bandit who dared to mess with you. But the realism doesn't stop there. You'll need to keep Henry fed, well-rested, and clean. Yep, if you wander into town covered in blood and filth, people will avoid you. And if you wear noble armor, guards will treat you with respect. Even your speech skills matter. Dress like a noble and people will take you seriously. Show up looking like a homeless knight and they'll laugh you out of the castle. The world itself is stunning. It's not massive, but it's dense and beautiful. You'll be riding through lush forests, tiny villages, and authentic medieval towns. The game nails the atmosphere. You'll hear villagers chatting, blacksmiths hammering, and the occasional drunken brawl. It feels alive. Oh, and the little details, insane. Your armor degrades, so you'll need to repair it. Your sword gets dull, so you'll have to sharpen it. And if you don't clean yourself, people will literally complain about your stench. It's one of the most immersive worlds ever made for everyone. It's slow, tough, and frustrating at times, but that's exactly why it's so special. It makes every battle feel earned, every coin you make feel valuable, and every victory feel personal. If you want an RPG where you actually have to think, this one's an absolute must play.
I knew that the brothers were far too proud to ever lay down their guns.
Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Call of Juarez Gunslinger is one of the most underrated FPS gems out there, and I'm not even kidding. It's got tight gunplay, a killer Wild West setting, and a storytelling twist that makes the whole thing way more fun than you'd expect. It's short, sweet, and straight up badass. You play as Silas Graves, a grizzled old bounty hunter who shows up at a saloon and starts spinning wild tales about famous outlaws he supposedly fought. The cool part? You play through his flashbacks, but the dude exaggerates everything. 1 second you're fighting off 50 bandits, and the next he's like, actually it was 100, and boom, the game spawns more enemies right in front of you. The way the narration messes with the gameplay is hilarious and brilliant. The gunplay is where it shines. You've got classic revolvers, shotguns, rifles, and even dual-wielding pistols, making you feel like Clint Eastwood on steroids. The shootouts are fast, messy, and satisfying as hell. You'll be popping headshots in slow-mo, blowing bandits off balconies, and pulling off insane combos. And yeah, the slow-motion bullet time, that was pretty freaking cool. Anyway, the levels are fun as hell too. You'll be chasing outlaws through forests, fighting your way across moving trains, and surviving dynamite-filled ambushes. It's all super cinematic with tons of action-packed set pieces, but the real star is the storytelling twist. Since Silas is a lying bastard, you'll see the environment change mid-level as he revises his tale. You'll be fighting a group of outlaws, and suddenly he goes, wait, did I mention the Apache Warriors? And bam! Apache Warriors spawn out of nowhere. It's funny, creative, and makes the game feel unpredictable. Visually, the game's got a stylized comic book look with bold outlines and bright colors, which gives it a unique flair. It's like a graphic novel come to life, making every shootout feel stylish.
Billy. And maybe discretion was the better part of valor.
The Sinking City. The Sinking City is one of those weird-ass games that sneaks up on you. At first, it seems like just another detective game, but the deeper you go, the more you realize you're slowly losing your mind and loving it. It's basically Sherlock Holmes meets H.P. Lovecraft, with creepy cosmic horror, bizarre mysteries, and plenty of disturbing moments. You play as Charles Reed, a private detective who shows up in Oakmont, a flooded, rotting town where everyone's either insane, mutated, or both. You're there to investigate the town's supernatural weirdness, but also figure out why you're having freaky murky visions, and trust me, things get messed up fast. The detective gameplay is actually solid. You'll be searching for clues, linking evidence, and piecing together theories. There's no handholding, either you actually have to think like a detective. No quest markers or magical compasses here, just your brain and a notebook. You'll be matching clues, consulting archives, and solving some genuinely clever mysteries. But then the horror kicks in. You'll be exploring flooded streets, diving into sunken ruins, and running into some truly disturbing creatures. The monsters are grotesque, with slimy, tentacle-covered designs that feel straight out of Lovecraft's nightmares. And the atmosphere, super creepy. The town feels claustrophobic, eerie, and completely messed up. What makes it stand out is the insanity system. The more you're exposed to the supernatural, the crazier you get. You'll start hallucinating, seeing freaky visions, and questioning what's real. There are moments where you literally can't tell if you're fighting a monster or just losing your mind. It's trippy as hell, and it works perfectly for the setting. The combat, not the best. It's clunky and basic, and you'll probably wish there was less of it, but honestly, the detective stuff and atmosphere make up for it. You'll still push through the janky shooting just to see what kind of madness comes next. The world design is top-notch though. Oakmont feels gloomy and oppressive with flooded streets, crumbling buildings, and murky canals. You'll be rowing through the waterlogged alleys, exploring abandoned mansions, and wading through chest-deep sewage, all while fighting off fish-faced cultists. It's gross, grimy, and weirdly beautiful in a haunting way. And the side quests? Some of the darkest and strangest you'll find. You'll help a woman find her missing husband, only to discover he mutated into a sea monster. Or you'll track down a thief, only to realize they were stealing cursed artifacts that drive people insane. It's weird, twisted, and perfectly fitting for the game's tone.
Beep, beep.
Deliver Us Mars. Deliver Us Mars is one of those slow burn, story right in the feels, but it also makes you feel kind of small in the face of space's massive emptiness. It's part exploration, part puzzle solving, and part emotional gut punch, all wrapped up in a bleak sci-fi setting. You play as Kathy Johansson, an astronaut with some serious family baggage. Your mission? Travel to Mars to retrieve stolen colony ships that could save Earth, which is pretty much dying. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Turns out your father is part of the group that stole the ships, making the whole thing super personal. So now you're not just saving humanity, you're chasing family ghosts too. The gameplay is slow and deliberate. You'll be exploring desolate Martian landscapes, climbing rocky cliffs, and solving puzzles. It's got that classic walking sim vibe, but with a bit more interactivity. The puzzles are clever, but not too hard, usually involving lasers, power routing, and manipulating objects. It's the kind of game where you'll stare at a console for 5 minutes, then feel like a genius when you figure it out. And the climbing mechanics, honestly, surprisingly good. You'll be using your pickaxes to scale cliffs, and it actually feels weighty and realistic. The terrain is rough, and slipping up means restarting a section. It gives the platforming parts some tension, which makes the traversal feel meaningful rather than just filler. But the real star here is the story. It's emotional, bittersweet, and really well written. Kathy's personal journey dealing with her father's betrayal, her own conflicted feelings, and the burden of saving humanity gives the game emotional weight. It's not just about exploring Mars, it's about exploring guilt, loss, and hope. Visually, the game nails the atmosphere. Mars feels barren, harsh, and lonely. The red desert stretch endlessly, and the faint dust storms in the distance make you feel insignificant. The abandoned colony ships are haunting, filled with echoes of the past, giving the whole thing a ghost town vibe. Now, it's not perfect, the facial animations can be kinda rough and some of the movement feels janky, but the strong narrative and atmosphere totally carry the experience. At the end of the day, Deliver Us Mars is one of those rare games that sticks with you long after you finish it. It's not action-packed, but it's thoughtful, emotional, and beautifully haunting. If you're into slow-paced, story-driven sci-fi with gorgeous exploration and a heavy dose of feels, this one's a must-play. The Darkwood. Darkwood is one of the creepiest, most unsettling survival horror games you'll ever play, and it doesn't even need jump scares to mess with you. Instead, it slowly gets under your skin with pure dread and paranoia, making you feel like you're losing your mind right alongside your character. You play as some random dude, no fancy hero name here, stranded in a mysterious, twisted forest. The woods are spreading like a disease, swallowing villages and turning people into horrifying freaks. Your goal? get out. But good luck with that, because the forest doesn't want you to leave. The gameplay is all about survival. During the day, you'll be exploring the forest, gathering supplies and crafting weapons and barricades. But once night falls, oh man, you're in for it. You'll be holed up in a tiny shack, barricading windows and clutching your rusty plank with nails, hoping you can fend off whatever's scratching at the door. And here's the thing, you can't even see properly. The game uses a cone of vision mechanic, which means you can only see what your character is facing, leaving you constantly paranoid about what's creeping behind you. You'll hear whispers, footsteps, and things moving in the darkness, but you won't know what's real and what's in your head. The combat, clunky and stressful, but that's the point. You'll be swinging makeshift weapons and shooting rusty pistols, but every hit feels slow and desperate, and ammo is super rare, so you'll constantly be on edge, knowing you can't just blast your way out of trouble. The atmosphere is insanely effective. The forest feels alive, but in the worst way possible. The trees seem to watch you, the ground oozes with corruption, and everything feels wrong. You'll find disturbing little villages, abandoned homes, and weird NPCs who are either insane, infected, or both. And the story? It's cryptic and unsettling, told through vague journal entries, cryptic dialogue, and environmental clues. You'll piece together the mystery of the forest, but honestly, the less you know, the scarier it gets. The vague, dreamlike storytelling makes you feel like you're trapped in a nightmare you can't wake up from. Oh, and let's talk about the random events. You'll be hiding in your shack, and suddenly, a doll appears out of nowhere. Or you'll hear a child crying, but there's no one there. The game constantly messes with you, making you question what's real and what's just your sanity slipping away. The Signalis. This is survival horror boiled down to its raw, brutal form, but with a sci-fi twist that makes it feel fresh and disturbing as hell. It's weird, vague, and constantly messing with your head, which is exactly why it slaps so hard. You play as Elster, an android pilot who wakes up on a frozen hellhole of a planet after crash landing her ship. She's looking for her missing partner, but instead, she stumbles into an absolute nightmare. The place is crawling with corrupted androids, which are basically half-dead, glitching freaks with metal limbs and twitchy movements. It's sci-fi horror at its finest, bro. The gameplay? Classic survival horror, no BS. You'll be creeping through dimly lit corridors, solving puzzles, and managing your tiny-ass inventory like your life depends on it, because it does. You get 6 item slots, which means you're constantly making tough calls. Do you bring more ammo or a health pack, key item, or a flare? It's stressful in the best way possible. But the real star here is the atmosphere, which is pure nightmare fuel. The pixelated visuals give it this retro PS1 vibe, but don't let that fool you, it's creepy as hell. The grainy filters, glitch effects, and claustrophobic level design make you feel trapped and uneasy the entire time, and the sound design? Bro, it's haunting. You'll hear distant clanking, faint whispers, and static bursts that make you constantly second-guess what's around the corner. The story is, well, it's kind of confusing as hell. It's fragmented and dreamlike, mixing sci-fi horror with psychological dread. You'll find cryptic logs, disturbing notes, and weird flashbacks, but it never fully explains itself, and that's the genius of it. You're left with more questions than answers, which makes everything feel even more unsettling. And the world itself, just pure nightmare fuel. One minute you're in a rusty colony bunker, and the next you're walking through some surreal, broken reality with floating architecture and twisted visuals. It's trippy and disorienting, but it works so damn well. Robocop, Rogue City. You play as Alex Murphy, a Detroit cop turned cybernetic crime fighter tasked with cleaning up the city's violent underbelly. The story fits perfectly into the Robocop universe, with dark satirical themes about corporate greed, corruption, and the line between man and machine. You'll face ruthless gangs, shady corporations, and corrupt cops, all while piecing together a larger conspiracy. The narrative is surprisingly well written. It's not just a mindless action fest, it dives into Murphy's fading humanity. You'll see glimpses of his past life, wrestle with what's left of his emotions, and face moral choices that actually impact the story. Whether you play as a by-the-book cop or dish out brutal street justice,
I assist you, officer.
I'm trying to catch this one shifty deal.
the game reacts to your decisions, making you feel like you're shaping Robocop's legacy. But the real star here is the gameplay, and it absolutely nails the power fantasy of being Robocop. You move like a walking tank, slow, deliberate, but practically unstoppable. You can shrug off bullets, punch enemies through walls, and obliterate entire gangs with pinpoint accurate headshots. The game captures that mechanical, powerful feel perfectly, making you feel like a relentless force of justice. The gunplay is incredibly satisfying. Robocop's signature Auto 9 pistol tears through enemies with brutal precision, and you can slowly upgrade it with explosive rounds, piercing shots, and rapid-fire mods, turning it into an absolute handheld cannon. You'll also get to use heavier weapons like shotguns, machine guns, and even grenade launchers, but nothing beats the sheer fun of landing perfect Auto 9 headshots and watching enemies crumble under the firepower. But Rogue City isn't just mindless shooting. It surprisingly mixes in detective elements and RPG-style decision-making. Investigate crime scenes, question suspects, and choose how you handle criminals, whether you arrest them or go full Robocop and deal out lethal justice. There are also dialogue choices that affect how the story unfolds, making it more layered than you'd expect. The atmosphere is spot on. Detroit is grim, dirty, and drenched in neon, with crime-ridden streets, shady alleys, and corrupt corporate offices. The environments are dripping with 80s-style dystopian flair, making it feel like you're walking through the original movies. And the game absolutely nails the Robocop aesthetic, with authentic sound effects, synth-heavy music, and brutal, over-the-top violence. What makes Rogue City stand out is how it doesn't try to be more than it needs to be. It sticks to its strengths: badass Robocop action, solid storytelling, and just the right amount of player choice. It embraces its B-movie roots, giving you campy one-liners, blood-soaked shootouts, and cheesy but charming dialogue. By the time you finish, you'll feel like you just played through a lost Robocop movie with plenty of callbacks, fan service, and action-packed set pieces. It's a rare double AA gem that knows exactly what it wants to be. A fun power fantasy shooter with surprisingly deep storytelling and authentic Robocop vibes. A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem is one of those games that hits you right in the gut, in the best and worst way possible. It's beautiful, heartbreaking, and brutal all at once, and by the end, you'll probably just sit there in silence, wondering how a game about two kids running from rats could wreck your soul this hard. The game follows Amisha and her little brother Hugo as they try to escape the curse that's been haunting them since the first game. Hugo has this terrifying power that lets him control rats, but the more he uses it, the worse his condition gets. The poor kid just wants to be normal, but his powers are basically turning the world into a rat-infested hellscape. Meanwhile, Amisha, who's barely even an adult herself, is forced to be both his protector and a ruthless killer. You'll watch her slowly break, and it's honestly tough to see. The story hits hard because it's so human. It's not about saving the world or stopping some evil villain. It's just two siblings desperately clinging to hope, even as everything keeps falling apart. And Amicia, she's tired, angry, and way more violent this time. You can feel her frustration every time she snaps and kills someone. She's basically a teenager carrying the weight of the apocalypse, and it's both powerful and tragic. But the gameplay itself, oh man, it's brutal and brilliant. You're not some superhero, you're a teenage girl with a crossbow and a whole lot of stress, which makes the combat feel raw and messy in a good way. You can sneak around, set traps, or just go full-on John Wick with firebombs and Hugo's rat powers. And the rats? They're basically a tsunami of death this time. You'll see entire cities get swallowed by them. It's both horrifying and kind of fascinating to watch. The game also looks absolutely gorgeous. One minute you're wandering through a golden wheat field feeling like you're in a painting, and the next you're watching a castle crumble under a wave of rats. The lighting, the weather effects, and even the tiny details in the characters' faces make it feel next level beautiful, like an art film with stealth and rat-based murder. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is one of the most haunting and powerful games you'll ever play. It's dark, beautiful, and genuinely disturbing, but not in a cheap jump scare way. This is psychological horror done right, and by the end, you'll probably feel like you need to lie down for a bit. You play as Senua, a Celtic warrior, on a desperate quest to save the soul of her dead lover. But here's the thing, Senua is tormented by psychosis. She hears voices, sees hallucinations, and questions what's real. And the game doesn't just tell you this, it makes you experience it firsthand. You'll hear whispers in your ears, feel the paranoia closing in, and struggle with the constant dread of not knowing what's real. It's genuinely unsettling, but brilliantly immersive. The story itself is simple but incredibly emotional. Senua believes she can fight her way into Helheim, basically Viking hell, to rescue her lover's soul. But her journey is more personal. It's about facing grief, trauma, and mental illness.
Don't kill me.
As you play, you'll see glimpses of her past, the abuse she suffered, the loss she endured, and it makes her determination feel painfully human. But what makes Hellblade hit so hard is how it puts you in Senua's shoes. The voices in her head aren't just creepy background noise, they taunt you, confuse you, and sometimes even help you. One voice might warn you of an enemy attacking from behind, while another might mock you for being weak. It's constantly disorienting, making you second-guess everything, and when you're fighting for your life, those voices get louder and more frantic, making the tension absolutely nerve-wracking. The combat is brutal and raw, but it's deliberately simple. You're not some overpowered warrior, you're just Senua, fighting through her pain. The clashes feel slow and heavy, with every swing carrying weight. You'll dodge, block, and strike, but the real fight is the mental battle. The screen distorts when you're overwhelmed, and the voices scream louder, making you feel Senua's struggle with every step. Visually, Hellblade is stunning in the most unsettling way. The landscapes feel otherworldly, with twisting, surreal environments that blur the line between reality and illusion. You'll walk through forests made of bones, stand on beaches of blood-soaked sand, and stare into endless haunting voids. The visual distortion effects and shifting environments make you constantly question what's real, which makes the whole experience feel like a fever dream. But the most powerful part of Hellblade is how raw and human it feels. The game doesn't glorify Senua's mental illness, it shows it with painful honesty. The developers worked with neuroscientists and people with psychosis to make the experience as authentic as possible, and it shows in every moment. It's not just a game, it's an emotional experience that puts you in the mind of someone battling inner demons. Mass Effect 2. So Mass Effect 2. Picture this, you're Commander Shepard and the whole galaxy's basically on fire. Bad guys called the Collectors are snatching up human colonies, and it's your job to stop them. Now, this isn't a solo gig, you gotta put together a team, and that's where the game gets interesting. You're not just recruiting soldiers, you're building a crew of misfits, each with their own quirks and backstories. Think of it like assembling a space-age Avengers team, but with way more drama.
We could upgrade. As for the crew, you'd have to...
Seriously, getting to know these characters is half the fun. You'll be going on missions with them, sure, but you'll also be chatting with them back on your ship, the Normandy. They'll tell you about their past, their fears, and their hopes. You'll help them with their personal problems, and they'll help you with yours. It's like making friends, but these friends are also super skilled space warriors.
You should probably know that I've had extensive genetic modification.
The missions themselves are pretty varied. You'll be exploring different planets, fighting all sorts of alien creatures, and making choices that can have big consequences. It's not just about shooting. You'll be talking to people, gathering information, and trying to figure out the best way to handle each situation. It's like a space opera where you get to decide how it all plays out.
Anyone to Omega. Opportunity.
And the combat, it feels good. You've got a bunch of different weapons and powers to play with, and you can mix and match them to create your own style. It's like being a space wizard with a gun. You can freeze enemies, set them on fire, or just blast them with a shotgun. It's pretty satisfying. Honestly, Mass Effect 2 is a game that really pulls you in, you get invested in the characters, you care about the story, and you feel like you're making a difference. It's a big, sprawling space adventure, and it's a lot of fun to play.
Serve on the Normandy, Commander.
Spider-Man 2018.
Hi, MJ, it's Peter. Any chance I could
First off, the swinging. That's the thing everyone talks about, and for good reason. It just feels right. You're not just watching a cutscene, you're in control. You get that feeling of speed and freedom as you zip between buildings. It's not always perfect, you might miss a swing or two, but when you get a good rhythm going, it's really satisfying. You're playing as Peter Parker, and he's not a rookie, he's been Spider-Man for a while, so he's got his own style, he's got his jokes, he's got his moves, and he's got his own problems. The fighting's fun, you get to use webs in all sorts of ways, not just to swing. You can pull enemies towards you, throw stuff at them, and do these cool combos. It's not just button mashing, you can actually get creative with it. The story's pretty solid. It's not just a simple bad guy wants to take over the world plot. It's about Peter's life, his friends, his job, and how it all gets mixed up with his Spider-Man stuff. You'll meet some familiar villains, and they have their own reasons for doing what they do. Mary Jane's also in the game, and she's not just a damsel in distress. She's actually involved in the story and helps out, which is pretty cool. You also get to use gadgets, which adds another layer to the gameplay. Peter's a scientist, so he's always tinkering with stuff. You'll get to use web bombs, drones, and other gadgets that come in handy during fights. It's like having a little toolbox of superhero tricks. What makes it worth playing? Well, it really makes you feel like Spider-Man, not just in the swinging, but in the fighting, the story, and even the little details. It's a fun action game with a decent story, and it's a good way to spend a few hours. Plus, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you'll probably enjoy seeing how they've brought the character to life in a game. Uncharted 4. Imagine you're Nathan Drake, and you thought you were done with all the treasure hunting stuff. You're trying to live a normal life, but then your brother Sam shows up out of nowhere. Turns out, he's in a jam, and you're the only one who can help. He's got this lead on some lost pirate treasure, and you just can't resist.
Fresh citrus.
This game, man, it looks good. Like, the places you go, they're not just pretty pictures. You'll be climbing cliffs where you can almost feel the wind, exploring jungles where you can practically smell the damp earth, and poking around ancient ruins that feel like they've been forgotten for centuries. It's like being on a really cool vacation, but with way more danger. And the action, it's like you're in a big budget movie. You'll be in car chases that make you hold your breath, shootouts that feel intense, and these climbing sequences that make you wonder how Nathan doesn't just fall. You get to use a grappling hook, which is super fun, and you'll be using it to swing across gaps and outsmart enemies. It's not just shooting, it's about using your environment to your advantage. The story's not just about finding treasure either, it's about family. Nathan and Sam have this complicated relationship, and you'll see them argue and work together. There are twists and turns that keep you guessing, and you'll meet some interesting characters along the way. It's not just a mindless action game, it's got some heart.
Where is it now?
Basically, Uncharted 4 is a game that makes you feel like you're on a real adventure. You get to explore amazing places, get into crazy action scenes, and follow a story that's actually pretty good. It's a fun game to play if you like action and adventure, and it's a good way to spend a few afternoons. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You're a pirate in the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy. You're not just any pirate though. You're also an assassin, which means you're good at sneaking around and taking out bad guys. You play as Edward Kenway, and he's a pretty cool character. He's a pirate who's also trying to figure out his place in the world. You'll be sailing your own ship, the Jackdaw, and exploring islands, fighting other ships, and looking for treasure. What's really fun about this game is the sailing. You get to command your own ship, upgrade it with better cannons and armor, and even recruit crew members. It's like being the captain of your own pirate ship. You'll also be exploring different islands, some with jungles, some with towns, and some with hidden secrets. You can climb buildings, sneak around, and use your hidden blade to take out enemies. It's like being a ninja pirate. The story's pretty interesting too. You'll meet famous pirates like Blackbeard and Anne Bonny, and you'll get caught up in a conflict between the Assassins and the Templars. Basically, Assassin's Creed Black Flag is a game that lets you live out your pirate fantasies. It's got sailing, exploring, fighting, and a cool story. It's a fun adventure. God of War 2018. You know Kratos, right? The super angry dude from the old games? Well, he's different now. He's got a kid, Atreus, and they're living in this cold, kind of spooky world based on Norse myths. Imagine taking a road trip with your dad, but your dad is a god and you're fighting trolls and dragons along the way. That's basically this game. It's a big change from the old God of War, where it was just non-stop fighting. Now there's a real story about family and how Kratos is trying to be a good dad. The relationship between Kratos and Atreus is the main thing. They're both learning from each other. Kratos is teaching Atreus how to fight, and Atreus is teaching Kratos how to chill out a little. It's like watching them grow together, and it's actually pretty cool. Now, the fighting is still awesome. You get this axe, the Leviathan axe, and it's super satisfying to throw it and call it back. You'll be fighting all sorts of monsters like trolls and Draugr, and the battles are intense. The world they live in is really interesting. It's full of Norse mythology, so you'll see gods and monsters that you might have heard about in stories. You get to explore forests, mountains, and even travel to different realms. It's like stepping into a Viking adventure, and it looks really good. Honestly, God of War 2018 is a game that's about more than just fighting. It's about family, growing up, and dealing with your past. It's a fun game to play if you like action, a good story, and exploring cool worlds. Plus, the axe is just super fun to use. The Last of Us Part 1. Imagine the world's gone sideways, a weird fungus thing has turned a bunch of people into these scary, clicky monsters. It's not like your usual zombie apocalypse, it's grittier, more real feeling. You're Joel, a guy who's seen some serious stuff. He's not a superhero, he's just trying to survive. He gets this job to take Ellie, a young girl, across the country. She's special, immune to the fungus, and that makes her a target. It's not just a monster killing game though, it's really about Joel and Ellie's relationship. They're thrown together and they have to learn to trust each other even when things are really tough. It's like a really intense road trip where you don't know who's friendly and who's not. The game is super tense, you'll be sneaking around trying to avoid the infected because they're fast and dangerous. Sometimes you gotta fight and it's not always easy. You'll be using whatever you can find, pipes, bricks, even just your bare hands to survive. You'll also be scavenging for supplies like ammo, medicine, and crafting materials. It's like a survival game with a really strong story and characters. The story is what makes it stick with you. It's not just a simple good guys versus bad guys plot. It's about how people react when things get really bad, how they try to hold on to hope, and how they make tough choices. You'll get to know Joel and Ellie, and you'll see how they change and grow. There are sad moments, scary moments, and moments that make you think. Honestly, The Last of Us is a game that's about survival, relationships, and making tough choices. It's not always fun or easy, but it's a game that you'll remember long after you finish playing. It's like a story that stays with you, and it makes you think about what you do in a world like that. Red Dead Redemption 2. Imagine you're living back in the Wild West, like way back when things were changing fast. You're Arthur Morgan and you're part of a gang of outlaws. It's not just about robbing banks, it's about trying to survive when your whole way of life is fading away. This game, man, it feels real. Like you're not just playing a character, you're living in this world. You can go hunting for animals just to get food, or go fishing just to chill out. You can even just hang out with your gang, telling stories around a campfire. Of course, as action too, you'll be getting into gunfights, robbing trains, and doing all sorts of outlaw stuff. It's intense, and you'll have to make choices that affect how people see you. Do you help someone in need, or do you look out for yourself? It matters in this game. The story's what really gets you though. It's about Arthur and his gang and how they're trying to figure things out. You'll see them argue, laugh, and try to stick together. You'll get to know them and you'll care about what happens to them. The world itself is huge. You can explore forests, mountains, towns, and everything in between. It's like a big playground and there's always something to do. You can find hidden treasures, help people in need, or just ride your horse and enjoy the scenery. Metro Exodus. So Metro Exodus, you know those post-apocalyptic stories, right? This one's set in Russia, but it's not just another shoot-everything game. You're Artyom, and you're leaving the underground tunnels of Moscow, which are basically all that's left after a nuclear war. You're trying to find a place where people can actually live on the surface. It's like a really long, dangerous road trip across a messed-up version of Russia.
Artyom, should we catch up with it?
What's neat about this game is the atmosphere. It changes with the seasons. You'll go from snowy winters where you're freezing your butt off to scorching deserts where you're baking in the sun. Each place has its own feel and its own dangers. It's not just a backdrop, it feels like a real place. You'll be scavenging for stuff like ammo and filters for your gas mask because everything is scarce. You have to be careful because you'll run into mutated creatures and other people who are trying to survive, and not all of them are friendly. It's a tense game, you're always on alert.
You made a mistake coming here.
The story is pretty solid. You'll meet different groups of people and you'll learn about their struggles and how they're trying to make a life in this messed up world. It's not just about shooting, it's about people trying to find hope in a really tough situation. Basically, if you're into games where you explore a dangerous world and try to survive, Metro Exodus is worth checking out. It's got cool action, a good story, and a really immersive atmosphere. It feels like you're actually there trying to make it through. Max Payne 3.
Something rotten in the air.
You've probably heard of Max Payne, right? Guy's had a rough time. This game picks up with him in Brazil, working as a bodyguard. It's not exactly a vacation. Here's the thing about this game, it's not just another shooter. It's got this slow motion thing called bullet time, which is pretty cool. You can dive around, shoot guys while time slows down. It's not just about spraying bullets, it's about making those shots count. The action is pretty intense. You'll be in shootouts in all sorts of places, from fancy clubs to rough neighborhoods. You're not just running and gunning, you're diving through windows, using cover, and trying to stay alive. It's got a real gritty feel to it. The story's dark too. Max is dealing with a lot of stuff, like his past and the fact that things keep going wrong. He's trying to protect the people he's working for, but it's not easy. It's like a crime thriller, but you're in the middle of it. You get to see a lot of Brazil in this game. You'll go to different places and they all have their own vibe. It's not just a backdrop, it feels like a real city. The Walking Dead. Imagine the world's gone totally sideways. People are turning into these creepy zombies called walkers, and it's a mess. You're Lee Everett, and you end up looking after a little girl named Clementine. It's like, imagine being thrown into a really scary world, and suddenly you're responsible for keeping a kid safe. This game isn't about running around shooting zombies all the time. It's more about talking to people and making choices. It's like a story that changes depending on what you do. You'll be figuring out who to trust, deciding how to deal with tough situations, and trying to keep Clementine safe.
No kidding.
What makes this game special is how much you get to know the characters. You'll see Lee and Clementine trying to survive, and you'll really start to care about them. You'll meet other people who are also trying to stay alive, and you'll have to decide who's a friend and who's a threat. It's like making real friends or enemies in a game. The game can be pretty emotional. There are some sad moments where you might even tear up. There are also tense moments where you'll be holding your breath, hoping you make the right choice. And there are moments that make you think about what you'd do in a world like that. It's kind of like watching a really good TV show, but you're in charge of what happens. Here's the thing, your choices matter. If you say something mean or if you do something that hurts someone, it can change how they act towards you later. And if you make a bad choice, someone might get hurt or even die. It's like your choices have real consequences. Detroit Become Human. It's the future, and there are these robots called androids that look and act just like people. They are basically everywhere. They look and act just like people, but they're supposed to just do what they're told. Now, some of these androids start to feel things like sadness, anger, even love. They start to wonder, why am I just a robot? Why can't I be free? You get to play as 3 different androids, each with their own story. First, there's Kara. She's like a nanny robot, and she ends up trying to protect a little girl from a bad situation. It's like a really intense family drama, but with robots. Then there's Connor. He's a police robot, and he's hunting down androids who are acting deviant, which is what they call androids who are starting to feel things. It's like a detective story, but with robots. And finally, there's Marcus. He's like a robot revolutionary. He wants freedom for all androids, and he's willing to fight for it. It's like a story about a robot uprising. The game is pretty emotional. You'll see how the androids struggle with their feelings, like when they're confused or scared. You'll also see how humans treat them, which can be really unfair. It's not just about robots fighting, though. It's about choices and what it means to be human. It's a game that makes you think about things like freedom, fairness, and what happens when robots become more like us. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Right, so you are Geralt. Think of him like a detective who also fights monsters. He lives in this big old-timey world, kind of like if fairy tales were real, but also kind of scary. He's on a mission to find Ciri, who's like his adopted kid. It's a long journey, and you'll be traveling through all sorts of places, from spooky forests to bustling towns. You'll meet a lot of different people, some nice, some not so much, and you'll run into some seriously freaky creatures. This game isn't just about swinging a sword. You'll have to make choices that change how the story goes, like someone might ask you to help them, and depending on what you do, things can turn out really different. You'll also be solving mysteries. People will tell you about monsters or crimes, and you'll have to use clues to figure out what's going on. The world you explore is huge, like really huge. You can ride your horse through fields, sail on lakes, and climb mountains. You'll find hidden caves, old ruins, and all sorts of places to explore. There are also tons of side quests, so you can always find something new to do.
On the battlefield. Necrophage.
The monsters are pretty cool. You'll fight everything from giant spiders to flying beasts. You could use different weapons, spells, and potions to take them down. Each monster is different, so you have to figure out the best way to fight it. The story is also pretty interesting. It's not just about finding Ciri. You'll learn about the different kingdoms, the people who live there, and the problems they face. It's like a big, complicated story, and you're right in the middle of it.
Half lion, half eagle.
Basically, Witcher 3 is a game where you get to be a monster hunter, a detective, and an adventurer. You'll explore a big world, make choices that matter, and fight some really cool monsters. It's a game that can keep you busy for a long time. Shadow of the Colossus. So, Shadow of the Colossus. Think of it like this. You're this person, Wander, and you're trying to bring someone back to life. But to do that, you've got to take down these huge living things called Colossi. They're like walking mountains, basically. You're all alone except for your horse Aggro in this really quiet, kind of sad place. It's just you, your horse, and these massive creatures. It feels really lonely, but also really big and important. Now here's the thing, you don't just shoot or punch these colossi, they're way too big for that. You have to figure out how to climb on them, like scaling a building. You'll be using your sword to find their weak spots, which are like glowing symbols on their bodies. Each Colossus fight is like a big puzzle. You have to figure out how to get to their weak points, which can be tricky. They might be flying, swimming, or just really hard to climb. You'll be using your horse to get around, and you'll have to be quick and smart to avoid getting crushed or thrown off. The world you explore is really beautiful, but it's also empty. There are no towns, no people, just you and the Colossi. It's like you're in a forgotten world, and it feels really special. Taking down a Colossus is intense. You'll be climbing on their fur, trying to hold on while they shake and try to throw you off. When you finally find their weak spot and stab them, it feels really rewarding. It's like you've accomplished something huge. Yakuza Like a Dragon 7. Yakuza Like a Dragon takes everything you think you know about the Yakuza series and flips it on its head. Instead of the usual beat-em-up action, this one goes full turn-based RPG, but somehow it just works. And man, this game has so much heart. You play as Ichiban Kasuga, a low-level Yakuza grunt who takes the fall for a crime he didn't commit. He spends 18 years in prison expecting to come back to his old life, only to find out that everything has changed. His family is gone, his boss betrayed him, and he's left with nothing.
Be a member of the Arakawa family. If you were from the family,
but instead of being some cold, hardened gangster, Ichiban is the most lovable idiot you could imagine. He's basically the complete opposite of Kiryu. He's goofy, emotional, and straight up obsessed with Dragon Quest, and that's why the combat is turn-based, because in his mind, every fight is like a battle in an RPG. And speaking of the combat, it's surprisingly fun. Each character has different jobs, like a bodyguard, a chef, or even a literal breakdancer. And the moves are just ridiculous. You're summoning lobsters, calling in a guy with a diaper for backup, and whacking enemies with traffic cones. But at the same time, the game knows when to get serious. It'll have you laughing 1 second, then wrecking your emotions the next. The story is so good, man. Ichiban isn't trying to be some legendary Yakuza. He just wants to help people and do the right thing. He builds a crew of outcasts, a homeless doctor, a disgraced cop, a barmaid with a rough past, and they feel like a real family. You actually care about them. And the villains? Oh man, some of them are straight up brutal. The betrayals, the twists, the fights, it just keeps getting better and better. And let's not forget Yokohama. This city feels alive. There's so much to do. Karaoke, arcade games, business management, freaking kart racing, and it never feels boring. Every little side story is packed with personality, from helping a guy escape a chicken costume job to fighting off a group of middle-aged men dressed as babies. It's peak Yakuza insanity, and I love it. Honestly, Like a Dragon is something special. It takes a risk by changing up the formula, but it totally nails it. If you love deep stories, hilarious side quests, and over-the-top fights, this is a must-play. Ichiban might be a new protagonist, but trust me, by the end of the game, you're gonna love this guy.
He said money.